What's up, guys? Today I wanted to go over how I stopped overthinking. I can't imagine that anybody has ever been more of an overthinker than I used to be. So I know these systems work that I'm getting ready to share with you because they really helped me out. So if you're somebody who really overthinks things, whether it's maybe like approaching a girl or going after your dreams, whatever it is, these tools right here will help you a lot. Now, before we get into that, be sure to hit the bell icon, subscribe button so you don't miss tomorrow's video. And let's get straight into it. The first big thing you got to do, guys, in order to stop overthinking is you have to stop identifying with your thoughts. We take our thoughts at face value far too easily, right? So like a thought comes into your head, maybe it's a fearful thought, and we get attached to the thought because we think that because we thought it, it must be real, right? And that's just not true. Like most of the time our thoughts are not really that accurate, and ultimately it's kind of up to you how accurate you're going to make them be. Like if you choose to accept a fearful premise, then most likely the result you're going to get is going to be dictated by that fearful premise. If you choose to disregard that, it's probably not going to happen the same way, right? It's the kind of idea of like when you're afraid of something, you tend to bring it about because you focus so much on it, and your actions paradoxically bring about that which you fear. So the first thing you got to do is stop identifying with the thoughts. You need to challenge them when they come up. You need to just see them coming by. Rather than treating them like they are God's truth, you need to basically treat them like they're a radio station that you are listening to, and you can just change the dial of the radio station and listen to something else, or you could just cut the radio off altogether if you get good enough at it. Now what happens, guys, when you do this is you just stop taking your thoughts so seriously, okay? Like a fearful thought comes up and you're just kind of like, all right, well, that's there, but it doesn't represent you and it doesn't speak to the truth. And the more you can detach from your thoughts, the easier this becomes. Second thing you got to do, guys, is now that you've become aware and you've identified your thoughts as not being you, you need to not let any of them get by you without challenging what they're saying, right? So if a thought comes in your head, like perhaps you have never really had positive experience. Let's say you want to talk to girls, and you've never really had positive experiences approaching girls, so you're going up to a girl and your thoughts start telling you how it's going to go bad because it's projecting your past into the future. Well, you need to notice that that thought's coming up and not identify with it, because if you start to identify with it and accept its premise, it's going to resonate through your body language, it's going to resonate in the way you talk to her, right? Like if you go into a situation like maybe your best friend, you're really charismatic around your best friend because you don't give a fuck, right? Y'all just talk and have this vibe and it flows really well. And even if it's a stranger that you really don't think much of and perhaps you're never going to meet him again, you're probably decently charismatic because you just don't care, right? But you put the girl on the pedestal because of the fearful thought coming in, and suddenly you're not charismatic. If you challenged that thought when it came up and reframed it, or decided, you know what, I'm going to think a different thought, and thought about how you were really going to nail this out of the park, this girl was going to love you, you were a man, she's a woman, why would she not be attracted to you, all these kinds of things, and you challenged that thought, your whole body language would change, the entire reaction would change. So you have to become aware of the thoughts that are coming through your head and stop accepting them, which is a challenge. You have to be present with yourself. This is why it's really a bad idea, but most people do it, is they take every little moment they can to try and zone out, right? So you're in line at the grocery store or something like that, you're on the phone, you want to watch TV all day. Like we want to avoid our mind, and the problem with this is we never train ourselves to watch what's coming into our mind, and therefore we just get fed back to ourselves the same negative stories that have hurt us to this point. You have to become more aware. There's no way around this, and ultimately it's simply about committing to doing it. And once you commit to doing it and commit to being aware of your thoughts, it becomes pretty easy over time. So once you become aware of these thoughts now and you challenge them and you change them, because a lot of times it's really easy once you notice that you're telling yourself these thoughts to realize how stupid they are. Like maybe you're waiting for a text back from a girl and you're like, your mind starts telling you she's not going to answer you, why would she answer you, all these different things, and you could just literally kind of play with it in an absurd fashion, be like, yeah, and like a meteor could fall out of the sky, or my mother could decide she hates me, or my best friend could never answer my text either. It's like you once you tell yourself that stuff, you start to realize how absurd it is that you're thinking this negative thought, and how just as easily you could be thinking the positive thought and not putting this implication on it. So you have to notice what's coming into your head in order to stop overthinking about it. And the third thing, guys, is to let the thoughts go, okay? So most of the time, at least for me, I think this is the general consensus, is most of the time that you're overthinking, it has to do with fear or guilt. Guilt meaning more unworthiness typically. So you're afraid of an outcome, so you start thinking constantly about it, or you feel unworthy of an outcome, so you're thinking about it and expecting it to go wrong. And now the problem with both of these, obviously, is they're going to bring about that which you don't like. So what you got to do is let go of the thoughts. And the way you let go of them is, now, if you've done the first two steps here, you're aware of your thoughts, you're detached from your thoughts, so it becomes very easy to just sit with the feeling of the thought. So you notice a thought come up. We'll keep with the girl example since that's what we've been doing. The thought comes up, the girl's not going to text you back. You figure out what's the feeling under that. Perhaps the feeling under it is, I'm not worthy of getting a text back, and that's the feeling state. So you don't repress that feeling state, you don't identify with it, you simply let it be there and just kind of notice it. And what you can do is, once you've done this, you realize it's there, is you can just kind of get on with your life and recognize that it's there, but recognize it has no power over you unless you choose to give it power over you, and then it just dissipates on its own. This is the letting go process, is to not suppress your feelings, not identify with them, but simply to let them be there and they will go away. Same with fear. If you're afraid of an outcome, just identify the fear, let it be there, and just recognize it. And once you recognize the feeling as its own entity, you're kind of like, okay, that's fear talking. It's like, once you do this, you separate off from it and you realize, like, that's fear trying to control me, or that's anger trying to control me, but that's not me. That's the feeling trying to take over my thoughts and my mind and get me to do a certain action. And once you've done this, like I said, you immediately detach from it and you can see clearly and rationally outside of the feeling, and the feeling will dissipate fairly quickly. So if you do these three things, guys, identify that the feeling or the thought is not you, it's just there. Stop assuming that it's you. And then you simply challenge the thoughts that come through your head, and then you let the feelings underneath the thoughts go. You'll stop overthinking things. And look, some of this does take courage, right? Like, let's say, like, there is no real way around the fact that maybe you haven't approached a girl before and you're nervous to do it. Like, you can continue to let go of the thoughts and you can do the training to make yourself not overthink, but at some level it is just simply going to require courage to take that first action out of your comfort zone. But we all have that courage within us. You have to summon it up. You have to focus more on the courage rather than the fear. You can recognize, all right, like, I'm afraid to do this action and I'm thinking about it and stuff, but you know what? I can do this. I have the courage to do this and see what happens. And then you step out of the comfort zone, and after that you'll find that you overthink it significantly less, because you'll figure out it's really not a big deal and you've gotten out of your comfort zone. But guys, if you got something out of this video, give me a like so I can reach more guys through the algorithm. Hit the bell icon and subscribe button so you don't miss tomorrow's video. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.